What's up, guys? Welcome back to Sussy Stuff. I'm Blythe,
And I'm Emma.
and welcome to our show. I'm so excited to be back with you. It's been a long 2 weeks. I was recovering from a surgery, finally got my voice back. I'm so excited to be back on here with you.
And we're happy to have you back talking college football.
So, this was probably one of the craziest weekends so far. Wow. I think my jaw was just on the floor pretty much all day Saturday. I didn't even move from my couch. Me and my boyfriend realized that. We woke up, we took a nap, and then we woke up like towards the end of the Clemson game. We're like, wow, we really have sat here all day long.
Now that was my day too. I got up, I watched game day, and then I sat on the couch watching football all day, which is the perfect Saturday in the
It
book.
is. It
Yes.
is the perfect Saturday. We had all of our tailgate dips, like we talked about on a previous show. I had the corn dip going. We had chicken dip, mini sliders. We had all the things. So it was great. And it was also great for me too, because I haven't been able to enjoy that food for the last 2 weeks. So I got to just devour
Sure.
everything and watch all of these crazy games. But for starters, let's start out with the South Carolina Ole Miss game. Did not have a happy boyfriend in my house, that's for sure. Wow. I think we learned a couple things this week from this team. One, they're very undisciplined. That taunting penalty, wow.
I think that's one of the worst penalties to get because it's so preventable.
Exactly. And when you think about it, it's like, that's really what the difference is between a great team and a good team. And
Hmm.
for me, this week, they just showed me just they're very undisciplined. The offense is very, very hard to watch. The defense, I can't really pinpoint where they are with me right now, where they stand. Kind of up, kind of down, can't really tell. Definitely that 4th and 1, going forward on 4th and 1, I think obviously changed the momentum of the game. Didn't matter how much sandstorm they were playing, how many fans were there. The whole momentum of the whole entire game changed right there. And, Coach Beamer took responsibility for that after the game. He talked about how he was so surprised because they had such a great week of practice and just completely came out there and just he was so disappointed. He said, "This is the most disappointed I have ever been as a head coach."
Oh,
And so it's just like,
that's rough to hear. And I'm a big fan of Lenore Sellers, and to see him like stumble along all game, it was hard to watch.
it is, and he came in kind of banged up still, but he competed. He still tried to compete, even being banged up, and I just hate that for him. But I think obviously their schedule ahead is very daunting. They go on the road next week to Alabama, so that's going to be a difficult game for them. And then in the coming weeks, they have to play Texas A&M, they have to play Missouri, they play Clemson, obviously in the rivalry game. So a lot of difficult teams ahead for them coming up. But hopefully they can figure it out. But it was all Rebs on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. And look, everybody says October 12th, that is going to be one of the best weekends
Yes.
as a whole of college football. But October 5th turned out to be an insane week. I mean, we had so many upsets. Of course, we had that number 1 Alabama lost to Vandy. We had number 4 Tennessee lose to Arkansas. Number 9 Missouri lose to Texas A&M. So there's our SEC teams. Then we had number 10 Michigan lose to Washington, 11 USC lose to Minnesota, and 22 Louisville lose to SMU. So it was just upsets across the board. Nobody was happy here except, of course, the winners. But
Right.
taking down all those people in the top 25 was insane. It really shook it up a little bit.
Insane. And I don't know about you, but I think I was sleeping with one eye open last night trying to watch the Miami game. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that was crazy too. I honestly had to wake up and see the ending. So I hated the fact that I couldn't stay up,
Yeah,
but it was
everyone's coming out and saying they got bailed out again with like the targeting call that was not called, or was overturned. But I think Miami's days are numbered. I don't know if the ACC wants to keep one undefeated team in the conference, but Miami has been a little bit hot and cold.
they are, they are. Hopefully we can just try to see that more of a consistency from them. I mean, obviously that was, a historical day for Cal being with game day being there and just the momentum of the crowd and playing on the road in a night game, big time primetime game. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they bounce back from that moving forward
Oh,
as well.
absolutely. I loved game day at Cal. I thought it was
It
amazing. That
was
crowd was so electric. It was
so
so cool to
electric, and it
see.
was so cool how it was dark outside still.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, the time difference being 3 hours behind, I think it's 4, but, how cool was that?
Well, they also I love that they made fun of themselves. There's one kid with a sign that says, "You're blocking the library." The other guy said, "We do lines of code." Like, these
Yeah,
kids are so fun, and they are so passionate about football, and they're
they
on the
are.
West Coast, which is awesome.
They are. I think it would be super cool to actually go out there and see a game out west,
Mhm.
like just a regular season game, not a postseason ball game or anything like that. But I think that would be really cool.
Now, a team that might not have been happy this week, was Alabama, and kudos to Vanderbilt, you guys played an amazing game. But Coach DeBoer and the rest of the coaching staff really tried to prevent, a mindset that said, "Oh, this is going to be an easy game." They
Yeah.
put mousetraps all around the fields and the facilities for them to realize that this is a trap game. I mean, I don't know if they realized that Vanderbilt had 2 weeks to prepare for this game.
Mhm.
Alabama had to play Georgia. That was an emotional game. That was a hard fought game. And Vandy was sitting pretty. They had a bye week. So they had time to prep and really prepare for this Alabama team. They did. They came out, they executed, and they destroyed them on the field, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. It was a sight to see. And as a college football fan, I absolutely loved watching it. I thought this is what you want in college football. You want these upsets. So it was so impressive, especially their quarterback was absolutely amazing.
How fun to watch too. I mean, I'm a former Vandy intern, marketing worker, whatever you want to call it. I was so happy to see them take that win. I mean, how historic. I'm so happy for their program. I'm so happy for Coach Lee and their athletic director. Just such a crazy, crazy sight to see there. They actually took the goalpost all the way down Broadway. It was over a 4 mile walk through the goalpost into the Cumberland River. I mean, honestly, imagine all the bachelorette trips that were on Broadway
Yeah,
this
all
weekend.
disturbed. They're like, what is going
Probably
on?
don't know football, or even maybe they don't like football, and just all they're trying to do is sing "Friends in Low Places," and here we go, goalpost away. That's the first thing I thought of. But I mean, their quarterback was on fire the whole game. They really just took control of this game from the beginning. They did never let up, never let their foot off the gas. Just so much momentum for this team, and it's just really cool to see. And obviously, as a sports fan, these things happen. And when you're a team like Alabama and you're in the top year in and year out, you're going to get every team's best.
Exactly. And I don't know. I think they definitely prepared for this game,
Mhm.
but I don't know if they were ready for what Vanderbilt was going to throw at them. And the biggest failure for Alabama was on their defensive side. I
Mhm.
mean, Vanderbilt converted 12 out of 18 third down attempts, which is insane. And that keeps their defense on the field. And then they just continue to get tired.
Yep.
And then there were so many stupid mistakes. I mean, I learned a new rule in this game, which was there was two illegal numbering on a punt return with two players wearing the same jersey number, and I didn't even notice it when it happened. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, Vanderbilt has the ball back, and I was like, "Wait, I thought the Crimson Tide were about to get the ball," but no, that was crazy. And then you have Jalen Milrow. He threw a pick six, which I mean, it's gonna happen, and that put Vanderbilt up
Mhm.
14-0. And then you have that illegal numbering on the punt return, and then they go up 20-7. I mean, it's just these mistakes over and over. And as a like, if you're a Bama fan and you're just sitting watching that game, you're like, wow, nothing is going our way today. It's like you couldn't catch a
Mhm.
break.
Nope.
There was another play where Milrow makes this incredible throw down the field. It connects. You think you're about to drive, but then, oh, wait, he crossed the line of scrimmage. Like, what
Mhm.
is going on? It just was not clicking. The defense just got continuously tired. And what are you going to do at that point? You can't stop this triple option offense
No.
any which way. And they were prepared and they showed up, and it was impressive to watch from Vanderbilt.
I know. I was nervous to text you. I didn't know how you would take it. I had to make sure you were still breathing.
When it comes to an upset, we love to see it as college football fans. You never love to see it as
For
a
your
fan
team.
of your own school. Like you never want to see it for your team. So as a fan of the sport, I loved it.
Mhm.
As a Bama fan, I I sit there and I was watching it. I again, like anybody, you just sit there and you're like, nothing is going our way.
Yeah.
There's nothing that is helping us.
Mhm.
I think there were a few poor calls, and then I
Mhm.
thought there were some poor non-calls, like, the poor call came from the roughing the passer, which, I mean, our defensive player literally took his hands off of him. Diego stayed standing upright. So I think if the quarterback's still standing, no harm has come. That is a very, very weak call,
Mhm.
and that was a difference maker, which gave them a fresh set of downs again,
Yeah.
and more yardage down the field. And I'm like, guys, that really could have changed the game if that would have not been
Mhm.
called. I thought also that Vanderbilt was holding quite a bit.
Mhm.
That was never called. But you know what? You say shoulda, coulda, woulda. You should have beat them. I
Exactly.
mean,
You should
you're
have
a
been
better
ready.
team, you're a
Yeah.
stronger team, you have more talent on that team,
Mhm.
and you didn't turn out, and that defense didn't turn out. And my worry moving forward for Alabama is we have seen problems with the defense from that South Florida game, from the Wisconsin game, from the Georgia game in that second half. It's like, what is going on here? We need to
Mhm.
make some serious adjustments.
Yeah.
We need to keep everything in sync. We need to get clicking on that defense because your offense can only score so much. And if your offense has a couple mess ups like Jalen Milrow did, he had fumbled the ball at one point and he threw a pick six. Like it's gonna happen, and
It's
they had 35 points on the board. It's not like the offense didn't show out, but if your defense cannot step up to the plate in crucial situations, you're gonna lose.
yep.
So it's just gonna happen. So they
It is.
you really need to work out these defensive issues moving forward.
Oh yeah. And I think it's just a great reminder for every team that you are beatable at any time, at
Correct.
any place.
I think the biggest thing was that Saban, it was a few weeks ago, he was like,
Oh,
everywhere is hard to play in the SEC except Vandy. And I was like, Saban, you just jinxed it. This
did
is your
you
fault.
know too, so obviously I still follow a lot of the Vanderbilt staff since I used to
Mhm.
work there, but right after the game they actually put that interview of him on the video board right
As
after
they
the
should,
talk on
as they should.
Instagram. They put it up. I was like, wow, this is crazy. I would love to have seen Saban's reaction, Saban's comments, because obviously on game day, Bama's picked all across the board.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to have seen their reactions really
Yeah,
all
yeah.
day with all of the upsets that we saw.
Oh yeah. But I mean, we'll hear about it next week
Oh
on
yeah.
game day. I'm sure it'll be talked about. It's going to be talked about all week.
Mhm.
I just want to give a huge shout out to Diego Pavia. I think he is absolutely incredible, and he's really doing some amazing things with this Vanderbilt team. And if they can continue with this momentum and this consistency, maybe they can upset a few more teams in the SEC, and that would
Right.
be incredible to see. Like they have pulled off a big upset in week one, and now they have this one against Bama. I don't know, go upset somebody
Yeah.
else. It'll be fun to watch.
He's such a fun player to buy into. I
Mhm.
think everybody obviously will pay more attention to him now, and maybe Vanderbilt too as a program, and take it a little bit more seriously. But he's going to be such a fun player to watch moving forward.
Absolutely. Now, for Bama fans out there, I don't want to hear anything about Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer is the guy for this team. Was this a bad loss?
Yeah.
Yes. Was this embarrassing? Absolutely. But it's okay. There's so much more football to be played. And
Oh,
let's go back down Bama history a little bit. So Saban, in his first year at Alabama in 2007, lost to Louisiana Monroe. I mean, that's just like this situation right here.
right.
And then in 2011, his defense, which is his strong suit, gave up over 300 yards rushing to Georgia Southern, who had a triple option offense at the time, just like Vandy. And you know who was the DC at that time? Well, it was Kirby Smart. And should Kirby Smart have been fired? Absolutely not. And you also look again. Saban lost the Iron Bowl after having a 24-7 lead at the half. He lost on the kick six. I mean, guys, great coaches lose.
They do.
DeBoer is a human being. Yes, did they drop the ball? Of course, but DeBoer has a 104-12 record now. He is 1-5 with top 10 teams. He has a combined 6-0 versus Kirby Smart, Dan Lanning, and
Mhm.
Steve Sarkisian. I mean, this is your guy. Let's calm down. Let's
Yes.
give him a chance to
Let's stay
reset.
fans and not
Yes,
try to be
we
coaches.
don't need the pitchforks coming out yet.
Yes.
It's gonna
We're
be
not we are
okay.
not Twitter coaches. We are fans.
No. We are
Stay
not fair weather fans here. We stick through it. We play for 4, we stay for 4.
That's
That's
right.
it. We stay for the whole season. We go into the next season positive. Vanderbilt, this was their day, but I'm gonna promise you, Bama, yes, they have good and bad days, but they have so many more good days than bad days. So just
This will
take
not
this,
happen again.
put it on the chin, and move on. It's gonna be
That's
a
right.
good season, guys. It's gonna be okay.
Some teams have to be humbled sometimes.
Yes, they do. Maybe this is the wake-up call they needed. I mean, losing to Texas last year was the wake-up call they needed. Made it all the way to the semifinals, almost made it to that national championship game.
Mhm.
So this could be really good for this team. Maybe they'll win out now. They do have a winnable season looking as long as they calm down. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Don't listen to that. That's called
With
rat
the
poison.
12 team playoff, that still in a way helps really everybody, especially when you have 1 or 2 losses, that's gonna be accounted for when it gets to the end of the year. I mean,
Exactly.
these losses are gonna be looked at, wherever however they, value that with importance, whether that's, the quality of the team, the way they won, how they won, where they won, whatever. We don't know. We're not the playoff committee, but those will be accounted for when the season is over, when we get into that postseason play.
Exactly. And it's not like they lost by 20. You lost by 5. It was a bad day. That can normally be like sketched under the rug. You don't have the worst loss of the year. That was Notre Dame hosting NIU.
Yeah.
So that is the worst loss. And I still think Notre Dame is going to get into the playoffs. And if Notre Dame's getting in with that loss, Bama will get in with this loss. It's not that big of a deal. Just keep it going and don't fail here on out.
Oh, no, that's right.
But it's gonna be okay. Now one team that I really saw in the playoffs, and I actually saw contending for a national championship, was Tennessee. Tennessee just lost 19-14 to Arkansas, who has been very hot and cold this season. Um, that was pretty shocking to me. And the beautiful thing was is that Arkansas was able to make Nico scared. They were able to
Yes.
rattle him a little bit. They made him feel like he had to be quick with his releases, which ended up in overthrown um, passes. And he just never seemed like he settled. And he looked like a rookie this week. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nico Iamaleava is an immense talent
Mhm.
for Tennessee. And when he grows with this team, it's just going to keep developing and growing. And soon you won't have those moments like this. But Arkansas really, really exposed him.
They did. I think they obviously controlled the whole game as long as they could, and they got what they deserved. They got the W. I think for Tennessee fans, I mean, you have to wonder, why did he run out of bounds at the end? Why did he
Yep.
not, you know, try to go? I mean, I don't understand where the lack of urgency. Why was that not there? I think that's probably the biggest question for me was, what were you doing?
I mean, Heupel's play calling came over a lot of scrutiny in this game. He didn't provide Iamaleava with protection when it was clear that Arkansas's strategy was just to pressure him the whole time.
Mhm.
And then at the end of the final drive, Iamaleava fumbled the snap, and then time was running out. He scrambled, and like you said, it did not work in their favor.
Mhm.
But I give it up to Arkansas. They came in with their plan and they executed. And they did what you do in the SEC, and you win in the trenches. You win like those gritty wins. And that's what they did. And it was amazing to see that Sam Pittman was able to grind it out and dominate the time of possession. I mean, but they had the ball for 50 minutes. 50. Like, who
It,
does that? It's insane.
it's insane. Yeah,
And
it
when
was.
you keep a dynamic quarterback and a dynamic offense and an offensive minded coach off the field for that long, that's when you're gonna win. It's not gonna you're not gonna win by 50,
Yeah.
but you're gonna win. Just keep
Yep.
taking the ball from them, keep grinding out the clock. It's similar to what Vanderbilt did to Bama. Bama
Mhm.
offense is dynamic and explosive, and they kept Bama off the field, and that's what
Yeah.
happened here today. I think with all three of these upsets in the SEC, it was down to the defense
Oh yeah.
and how they weren't able to execute in those big moments, and how they kept letting them get those third down conversions and everything like that. And when you do that, your defense gets tired, and then you can't make the necessary plays you need to make to
Mhm.
win and be successful in this league.
Yep. You got to be able to put these teams away when it matters, and you can. And I think obviously these teams couldn't do that this week. And hopefully going forward they'll figure that out. I think these teams have a lot to work on, and we'll be able to see who takes their prep, what they learned, what they saw, and run with it the rest of the way. Because there still is a lot of football left. But we're almost halfway through October, and
I
everybody
know.
knows it's November to remember. So, what do you do moving forward? If you are these said teams who, are kind of teeter tottering with, what's good, what do we have, what do we need to improve on? So, I think going forward, that's going to be really the tall tale of a lot of these teams right now that are kind of lingering in that top five, top 10.
Absolutely. And I've been all in on Tennessee this whole year. I felt like they will absolutely make the playoffs. I felt like they could contend for the SEC championship. And then once you get to the playoffs, like, let's see week to week. Could you make it to the semis? Could you make it all the way to that national championship? And then it's just one game. So I've always thought that they have the ability to do that. But then after this week, it's like, especially in terms of their pass protection, which is much needed, it's lacking now. And
It is.
Tennessee now has to go play Kentucky, whose defense has been absolutely stellar this whole
Yeah.
season. And then they have to play Georgia. And you know what Georgia can do, especially when they're on. They do have to play Bama as well. And if Bama shows up, they're going to beat them. And you know what? They have to play Vanderbilt. And let's not
Yes.
undermine Vanderbilt anymore. Vanderbilt can beat people. So, and Vanderbilt may beat Tennessee. I mean,
You
it
know,
could happen.
you honestly never know. And for me right now, obviously there's Texas, and I think everyone can agree right now they are probably the most complete team from top to bottom, I would say.
My thing with them is, especially after Michigan
Mhm.
lost this past week, which making them now a two-loss team, one of those losses coming from Texas. I'm like, let's wait for Texas to really play somebody. I know they play
Yes.
Oklahoma coming up this next week. And then I think they play Georgia right after that. So I kind of want to see them in those
I was
trickier
gonna say
situations to get them as a whole,
yes,
and see if anything gets
yeah,
exposed. Because, like you said, right now they do seem like the most complete team overall, defensively and offensively. Obviously, we believe Quinn Ewers is going to be back. And he is an amazing quarterback and game manager. So I want to see moving forward if that's true. And
yes,
we're about to see that, which is really, really exciting, because we kind of know about all the other SEC teams. We know their weak spots, we know where they need to grow, and we know where they need to go in
yeah.
order to get to the SEC championship and get to the playoffs if they're still in contention for that. Um, but Texas, we're about to learn a lot, and that gets
I
really
think so
exciting.
too. Just for me right now, I don't have anybody on my list that is just so far above everybody else.
Nope.
I don't, no one has done that for me yet. And there might need to be a couple more games played. I'm not sure, but I don't have that one team that's just ahead of everybody else right now. And I feel like in years past, I've kind of had my opinions, had a couple people that have kind of, like I said, teeter tottered there, but this year I just don't.
Well, I mean, this is the new reality of college
Mhm.
football with the NIL and the transfer
Yes.
portal. This is how it goes now. You can only stack your team so deep. You
Mhm.
lose a couple people, like you saw Bama lose a bunch of people on their offensive line, and they struggled against South Florida and a bit against Wisconsin, getting back into the rhythm with everything. So you don't have the players on the bench that you used to, which allowed you to rest your defense or put in a different wide receiver if you think they could execute a play better. You kind of have to trust what you got. And what you got isn't going to work every week anymore. And also, the cool thing in the SEC now, especially for teams like Georgia, who used to not play anybody, there's no conference divisions. Everybody can play everybody now. It's the two top teams in the SEC will go to the SEC championship. So I think that makes for a crazier conference.
Yes,
Everyone's kind of going to eat each other alive now because everyone can play everyone. And everyone in the SEC, as we saw this week, is good and can win
yes,
any given week if they execute the plan they've put forward, if they can adapt to what's been thrown at them. And that's what's so exciting about this league and what makes it the best, of course.
that's right. That is right.
Now, the last team I really want to talk about is Missouri versus Texas A&M. Missouri ended up losing that game 10-41, which was absolutely shocking. And this is the same tale we've been spinning for Tennessee's loss and Alabama's loss is it's on the defense. I mean, the Tigers defense had no answers for Connor Weigman and the Aggies offense, particularly on third downs. It's like nobody was able to shut down those third down plays,
No,
which kept the defense on the field and kept the teams tired. And I know we've been saying that all night long, but that's been what was going on with these three
that's
games.
what Aggie Lamb was rocking. It was just a complete domination. Like just completely. I honestly couldn't even believe it. I was switching back and
No,
forth from other games, and when I had finally saw
you
the
got to put
score,
on the multi view.
what is happening? What is happening right now? But like we said, it just shows you have to walk into these places on the road, be more than ready probably than you even do at home, just with different crowd noises. You're in a new environment. Sometimes this is team's first time playing here, different players playing there. So you have to bring a whole different kind of mindset. And like we talked about, obviously this is the SEC. This is playoff caliber games week in and week out. And anyone's beatable, and so you have to be ready, and they were ready, and you could tell it was complete domination.
Absolutely. And I just want to give a shout out to Weigman. He really picked apart this Tigers defense, whether it was finding the gaps to make quick throws or threading passes across the middle. I mean, he really exploited Missouri's secondary the whole day. And he just looked so poised
Yeah.
the whole time. He was calm and collected. And I always think that's the tale of who's going to win. I mean, in the Vanderbilt game, Diego was calm the whole time. He played
Yes.
unafraid. And that's when you're like, oh, shoot, maybe we should wake up a little bit. And obviously, Missouri never woke up. Obviously, Bama never woke up. And these quarterbacks dominated the day. So
They did.
I had a great time on
It
Saturday.
was. But the quarterback position, you kind of have to have that confident kind of swagger, but also that cool demeanor about you too.
Exactly.
And you know, obviously both of those two quarterbacks, Vandy and Texas A&M, they had that, and that ultimately is what walked them out with the W.
Absolutely. And I mean, Missouri, we've been kind of looking at the past few weeks. And their offense has left um, us a little underwhelmed at times. It was seemed very simple, nothing explosive. And obviously, in the SEC, you have to make those explosive
Mhm.
plays. You have to execute at a high level, and
Mhm.
they weren't doing that on their offensive side or the defensive side, which led to this loss. And to me, I don't really think I know they were ranked high, but I don't think they're going to make it to those playoffs. They have too many hard games coming up, and they really have not impressed in a big way whatsoever. So I think they can make some adjustments, but they did just have a bye week, and it's like wherever the adjustments made there, um,
Exactly. And
and
I
they
think
weren't.
yeah, and I think that's why, a lot of the frustration too with South Carolina fans, they had 2 weeks to prepare for Ole Miss. You had the at home advantage. You got to take hold of that when you do have that bye week leading up to a big game. And, it just shows like who really takes it serious and puts their nose down and gets it done. All right, guys, welcome back to SEC Stuff. We are here with Judah Davis for our first segment of Sideline Stories. He is a former Clemson linebacker, Clemson graduate. Got to emphasize that graduate. Clemson has a 99% graduation rate for their football players. That's awesome. He's also a two-time national champion. Judah, what was it like playing at Clemson, being a two-time national champion? Your dad was a Clemson legend. You got to play alongside your brother, JD. What was it like following in his footsteps and being a Clemson Tiger?
So it's so funny, you'll be in college classes, you'll be in high school classes, and you'll be introducing yourself, and everybody will be like, "Oh, what's a fun fact about you?" So growing up, my fun fact was always that I was a twin. I have 4 older sisters. 3 went to Clemson for undergrad. My youngest sister went to Vanderbilt for undergrad. She did end up getting her master's from Clemson. So she was the black sheep of the family until she righted that wrong. So growing up, my fun fact was always that I had a twin brother, whatever, nice and easy, right? I'm now currently 28. If someone were to ask me a fun fact, this is what I would tell them. I would tell them that there is no national championship in Clemson's football history that doesn't have Davis blood on it.
Oh, I love that.
My dad won the first national championship, team captain, 1981. And then my brother and I had the distinct pleasure of playing with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence and winning the next 2. So there's no Clemson national championship that doesn't have Davis blood on it, and that's my fun fact. And man, God is so good. No one could ever dream that up for their life. I actually almost quit football in 9th grade. Didn't know if I wanted the pressure of having a Hall of Fame father to contend with. Thankfully, I had a twin brother that could hold some of that weight for me, hold some of that burden as well. And, best decision of my life, deciding to continue to play football in 9th grade. So yeah, winning a national championship is so funny. 2016, every confetti's falling. We have a game-winning play. I looked at my brother. I looked to my dad at my right. We're celebrating. And I distinctly remember telling myself, I'm like, I will probably never feel like this again, ever in my life. And then somehow, 2019, we go undefeated. Best team ever. Blow out Alabama. Sorry, Emma.
I'm over it.
And it's so funny, we get there. I'm in California, and I'm like, wow, I told myself 2 years ago that I would never feel like this again. And look, here I am feeling exactly like this again. So just a huge blessing. Don't know where I would be in my life without following in my dad's footsteps, having my twin brother by my side and going to Clemson and playing football.
Yeah, it's such an amazing story. And, if you're, lifelong Clemson fan like you are, like I am, you remember those days being 6-6, barely making a bowl game. You're waiting at the TV to see just where you land. It might be the Meineke Car Care Bowl. It's some crazy bowl, some crazy name. And then to just have
Music City Bowl, Kentucky.
Freezing, by the way. Freezing.
Yes. Snows that game.
I think I was in the bathroom. I remember just doing this with the hot water because it was so cold at that game. But just an amazing, amazing run. I was even there in school during that time. Got to be on the dance team. Just crazy. Love it for, your family, you. But how do you think Clemson stands now? Obviously, big road game last night at Florida State. Where do you see this program going the rest of the season? What have you liked so far? What have you not liked? Just what's your thoughts on them right now?
Man, I'm ecstatic about where the Tigers are right now. Probably didn't play our best last night and still got out of there with a big win versus a huge rivalry at their place at night. One of the best environments in all of college football. I enjoyed every time playing down there versus Florida State. Knew what we could expect when it came to the environment. Knew what we could expect when it came to the players on the field. We struggled in the opener. You play a team like Georgia in the opener. Is what it is. You got to flush that. We competed for a half. Really hope to compete for 4 quarters. But, you live and you learn. Didn't ruin anything, but we learned a lot about ourselves in that first game. And, just to where we are now, watching the offense roll, watching these new young pieces get interjected into the offense and watching Cade grow up. There's a huge jump from sophomore to junior year. And just watching him grow up, watching him become the quarterback that he is now. It's just been an incredible process, especially now, where I grew up as a fan, transitioned to a player, and now I'm transitioned back to a fan again, essentially. But I'm ecstatic about where we are. Can't complain. We've lost one game, but everything that we want is still out there in front of us.
So that was my next question. So what was former player game day routine and what is now ex-player game day routine?
You mean like former player as in when I was playing, or like
when you were playing?
Oh, I mean, noon game, we're getting up at like 6 a.m., get ready for breakfast, get meetings, get to the game, show up, play, early one, right? Locked in, whatever. As an ex-player, I'm still in the football world now. I went into sales immediately after football, and now I'm back into sports. So, a little more tailgating, which I love to see, which I love the experience because I tailgated as a kid, obviously. So a little more tailgating, get to just enjoy time with family and friends before the game now, and see people who have, moved away, grown up, that I've gone to college with, and then I get to do my job as well, and engage with players' families, and really just enjoy being a Clemson fan and the environment.
Yeah. I love that. Now, with your dad being a Clemson legend and you growing up with that Clemson culture, how did it feel the first time you ran down that hill for your first ever Clemson game?
Oh, running down the hill is literally life-changing.
So fun. Like, that's my favorite thing.
Yeah, the bus ride, everything. And there are a couple times during my senior year where I'm like, dang, I only get to do this like 3 more times, right? In front of fans and fully suited up. And it's literally a life-changing experience. And I didn't take not one hill run for granted. Every time I was running down the hill, I enjoyed it every single time.
Now I have to ask, were you a sprinter down or were you more cautious? Because there's a difference. Some people are flying down that thing and some people you can see they're kind of
So when I saw it in real life, you see there's like that big dip in it. And I was like, oh, that could be dangerous.
So I have a teammate who won't be named. I'll spare him. Who fell down the hill. And we have pictures, like 4 pictures of him. And it's like just in sequence of him falling down the hill, right? But for me, I love the hill. I love everything about the hill. Growing up, I heard there were stories where like an ex-player broke his leg going down the hill. So I was always very careful, but I always had fun. So when I was getting to that hill, the little bump in the hill, I'm jumping as high as I can. I got plenty of pictures where I'm like flying. And then there were literally a couple times where I'm like midair and I'm like, oh crap, I jumped too high. I'm like, I'm about to kill myself coming down. So it is a great experience, but you do have to be careful. I wish Coach Winnie would actually be a little more careful. This dude wants to run the full speed every time. But yeah, no, I was a cautious sprinter. I'll say that.
Oh my gosh. Now that you're on the side of working in sports, obviously the NIL is a big thing now. How do you see that changing the game of college football going forward?
So there's a lot to love. There's a lot to hate. But my honest take on NIL is we'll take Caleb Williams, for example, Heisman winner. If you're the Heisman winner, you're probably the most recognizable face in college football, right? Bottom line is the most recognizable face in college football should have every right to go be in 2 Wendy's commercials. Yeah. They should be able to be in 2 Wendy's commercials. Everyone knows who they are. And then they have a Heisman House commercial. Like everyone knows who the Heisman is. You should be able to be in 2 commercials as a Heisman winner. And NIL, we could talk about this for forever, but that is my high level spill on NIL. The bottom line is there is so much money in the sport. The athletes and the players, give so much of their time to the sport. They should be able to profit off their name, image, and likeness.
Yep, I agree with that. I just hope that it doesn't become so business and you lose that passion that college football has. I think that's the biggest difference for me as a fan watching college and NFL is that passion just isn't the same in the NFL. And maybe it is if you have a team, but obviously growing up in South Carolina, the closest team that we have is the Panthers. And, whether you like the Panthers or not, a lot of people don't, but that's your team. And so, for me, you grow up going to Clemson. I was, Friday night football girl going to watch my uncle coach and my grandfather. And Saturday we went to Clemson and Sunday we went to church. And in the South, it's pretty much your weekend routine. And so since this is an SEC show, we want to also talk about the addition to the new teams that are joining the SEC. We wanted to, kind of ask you your thoughts on those two teams that were chosen to join. I know that if you're me or you, we would definitely make the argument that, Clemson should be in addition to the SEC. They've played, year in and year out in these big time playoff games, national championship games. We've played against these said teams that are the best. So, what are your thoughts on the addition of Texas and Oklahoma?
Man, the SEC is insanely deep. You're watching last night and Arkansas upsets Tennessee and Vanderbilt upsets Alabama. There are no nights off. I mean, people used to consider Vanderbilt the night off in the SEC and the number one team in the nation with probably one of the Heisman front runners. That Boise State kid is ridiculous. But Maybach Milroe is absolutely someone up there for the Heisman. And if you look at his performance, dude put up crazy numbers.
It was great. It was the defense.
It took a generational performance from the Vanderbilt quarterback for them to get beat.
Absolutely.
Such a fun player to buy into right now.
Absolutely. So, exactly. And so you add Texas and Oklahoma, and, my former position coach is now the head coach at Oklahoma. I know that they belong just because of who he is, what kind of defense he wants to run and play, and the numbers speak for themselves. But it is insane how deep it is, how deep the league is. And, thankfully, they moved it to 12 teams. Now that's a conversation for another day, but I'm speaking for SEC teams who feel like they have a gauntlet of a schedule. And it's like, man, we got to play all these teams in the league, and at least there's 12 spots now. There's more spots to get in. Yeah. But yeah, it's just an insanely deep league now.
Well, who's going to win this next week, Texas or Oklahoma?
That's a good question. And, I would probably lean more towards Texas just because the record speaks for itself. But, you can never guarantee anything in a rivalry game, and you never know what happens in the Red River rivalry. Now, is it still the Red River rivalry with them moving?
It is. It's just ours now in the SEC.
Okay, so it's just SEC's Red River rivalry. Yeah. So you never know what can happen in a rivalry game. And, if I know Coach V as well as I think I know him, he can dial up something where that offense won't get anything. But we'll see what happens. The game has to be played, but it should be a very exciting duel next week.
Now, who is your top team right now? Because we were talking about this earlier. For me, there's no one really that sticks out right now that is just so above everybody else. I feel like in years in the past, I kind of could pick a team, but right now, maybe other than Texas, nobody's really standing out to me as a complete team from top to bottom right now.
Yeah, I guess you would probably have to take Texas. They're insanely deep. Their QB2 is a dude. their second quarterback is a dude.
That'd be better.
Nothing wrong with having a Manning.
The second quarterback is a dude. They have depth. They've got a Clemson transfer safety there. They're in Texas, and they've got all the money you could ever want in Texas. And you just speak on the program, speak on where they were last year. I think you would have to pick them. But like you said, Blythe, I don't know if there's any clear-cut number one, just straight domination team. When you look at Georgia, beat Kentucky by a point. Then they go lose to Bama. Then Bama loses to Vanderbilt. So, you can't – I can't really say this team right here is going to dominate everybody and has been dominating everybody. The bottom line is, because of the transfer portal, whether you like it or not, this is probably the deepest the sport has been when it comes to anybody can lose on any given day. And college football used to be like that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you just add the transfer portal on top of that. It's hard to win. So you better bring it every week.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the transfer portal?
I like the transfer portal. There are some things that I don't like about the transfer portal. Things like combining it with NIL and there not being that many regulations. But the bottom line is I am going to be pro the players, and I think the players should have a certain amount of power. I don't think that means that they should just be able to do whatever they want, but you got coaches that can jump from one school to another.
That's right.
I think players should have the same opportunity within, parameters. But with that being said, I'm not a guy that would have transferred. I went to a school that I grew up watching and loving, and I didn't care about the situation. The bottom line is I was going to put that freaking paw on and love every minute of it.
I mean, that's what I love about Dabo Sweeney is he really creates that culture of like when you're a Clemson player, you're a Clemson player and you want to play for this team every single day.
So
and I love about it.
Yeah, that Clemson degree meant so much to me. And the bottom line is I'm going to be okay with the transfer portal no matter what, but education has to be one of the focuses, right? We gotta want to get something out of going to college. We can't just want to go make money because we play football. We've got to want to move the sport forward, continue to build and develop great young men who want to make this world a better place.
Yeah, and that's just one thing that Clemson does, and I'll die on that hill. They do that the best. They truly develop you as a person, and people walk out of there a better place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that a lot of these players that don't go to the NFL, they're doing so many great things right now. And I wanted you to elaborate too on Paul Journey and what that means to you and your family, and just a little bit more for the viewers and the fans that don't know about Paul Journey. Just elaborate on everything they do.
So Paul Journey is a leadership initiative unique to the Clemson football program, headed and is the brainchild of my father, Jeff Davis. And it's a leadership initiative, that is designed to give players power and a voice and, follow them through their journey as a Clemson football player and develop them as a man, develop them as a player in all facets of life, interview prep, micro internships, community service. And the thing is that it just keeps growing. It keeps getting better. I was in the inaugural class. And just the things that they have done ever since I've left is incredible. Trips to South Africa and, building houses and Habitat for Humanity, micro internships that, allow me to get a job fresh out of college, allow my brother to get his amazing job with Adobe. So, it's a once in a lifetime generational type program that, mostly only Clemson student athletes get to experience. My dad has a former employee down there with the Florida Gators that's trying to do the same thing. But the bottom line is Paul Journey's mission is to see their players beyond their helmet. You're more than your pads and the helmet and the team you wear on Saturday. And the bottom line is football isn't the end all be all. It's a lot. And football is king. I love football. Football is king. That's how I put food on the table. Football is king. But the bottom line is there's so much more to this life than football. And Paul Journey is just going to prepare you for that.
I love that. And that's such a good reminder. It's like, we can't put our whole lives on the line for football. I know I was upset last night, but it's like
when you think about it in simple form, you can't let an 18-year-old ruin your week.
No.
And when you realize that, you'll be okay.
Ruined my few hours. But
yeah.
I'm like, okay, next week we got it.
Well, we want to throw it back to that national championship in Tampa. Let's break down that play. Let's rewatch.
All right. So before we watch, I'm upset because the defense gives up a touchdown. Obviously, I'm a defender. I'm upset. But with that being said, and this is some inside information for you guys.
Ooh.
My 4 years at Clemson, we ran 2-minute drill. I think it was every Wednesday during the season.
Wow.
2-minute drill every Wednesday. And let's say we ran 2-minute drill 20 times during my time at Clemson. I'm not even lying to you. The defense probably won 5 of them. I'm so serious. If we ran 2-minute drill 20 times in my career on Wednesday, the defense won 5, the offense won 15. That's just what happens when you're playing a guy like Deshaun Watson, Mike Williams, Ben Gallman, Jordan Leggett. Like, it's insane. 20 times we won 5. Whenever we won 2-minute, we were ecstatic. We knew it was great. We had a great practice. Didn't matter what happened. We won 2-minute. We're happy. So back to the beginning. I'm upset because defense gives up a touchdown. I'm not stressed though. I'm really not stressed.
I really wasn't either.
Like, these dudes can get it done. I just know they can.
There was never a worry. Anytime that number 4 was on the field, it was just whew.
Agreed. All right.
Chill.
Let's watch it. Let's see here. Only 6 seconds left. We motion, changing the formation back. Looks like they're in man, and we just run a quick little cross here to Hunter Renfrow. And, you know, a lot of people are upset. A lot of Bama fans are upset about this play. They say it's a pick play. You know, I'm not biased or anything, but when I watch this play over, I think Artavis Scott just does a great job running his route, and the Bama defender is just playing hard and physical and gets caught up with him, trying to do his job. And, you know, that leaves Hunter Renfrow wide open. And, you know, talk about dialing up the play call. The play call. And, you know, it's one thing to, you know, just dial up a play call and let your players go win. But not only did our players win, the freaking play won. Yeah. And you just tip your cap to the offensive coordinator, because it didn't matter who was right there when it lined up at receiver right there. The play call won, and you love that. And that coaching can take you to the next level. But it's very important that, you know, we had Artavis Scott, Hunter Renfrow there to execute the play, execute the plan, and go win the game.
And I think what was even sweeter too was that was a walk-on who made that pitch.
Absolutely. And it's so funny. So Hunter Renfrow's a walk-on. You know, my brother and I were supposed to play Hunter in the 4th round of the high school football playoffs.
Oh, cool.
Our senior year. They ended up losing. And we actually ended up losing in state that year. But, you know, I ended up going on my official visit with Hunter Renfrow. And, you know, we always knew that he was going to earn a scholarship. That's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah. Great guy, great family guy. Just, it couldn't have happened to a better person. And the way it did too, just, I still love it.
Agreed.
Well, I think that's all. Thank you so much for your time and being here with us today. We wish you the best with everything going forward with MGC, everything. And if you want to sign us out, just say whatever you want to say.
Go Tigers as always. And, you know, college football is a beautiful thing, and what it does, you know, bringing people joy, creating opportunities for student athletes across the country. Football is truly the greatest team sport on the planet. I'll argue that with anybody. But when it comes to discipline and creating great habits and creating great people and men and teams, there is no better sport on the planet. So really appreciate you guys having me. It was a pleasure, and hope you guys enjoyed, you know, the time we spent together today.
This was wonderful. Thank you so much.